Laura was my firstborn child. Well, I poured everything into that wonderful daughter. Everything that I thought would be interesting and helpful for her. Laura is a little bit, and Laura is like that part of me now, which feels that that the emotional side is extremely important. It's a dominant side for Laura. And she too, I mean, she has been a different kind of teacher, a caretaker. First taking, well, it's also teaching very young children for many years, and now teaching very old people.
The path of life, like when you say that she's teaching, what is her method, or what is the message that she brings?
Her message is very much like my mother's, which is to be totally welcoming of everyone. Totally welcoming. Invitingly welcoming into my life. No hesitation to invite in and to care for. And I think her approach to teaching was driven by her compassion for people, whether it was very young children or very elderly people. It's great acceptance and compassion that they have different abilities and readiness, but she would be there. And Laura, like me, loves to invite the whole family for an event with food. Yeah. And Laura was a little bit of a rebel. She, in high school, decided she was not going to spend the summer with her mom. She was going to go to the island of Nantucket, where her grandmother lived, and she would be a chambermaid, change the beds, because my mother had a bed and breakfast, what we call an Airbnb now.
Yeah.
And she was a bit of a rebel, living her own life as a 15, 16-year-old. I don't know the exact date, but when her grandmother found that Laura was growing marijuana in her windowsill, she said, "I don't think you should live here anymore." And so Laura found a job. I don't know what she was doing, and she found a room to live in with a local doctor. And then Laura left the island and worked very close for a number of years in the town of Woods Hole. Met her husband there, Charlie. And when my mother was when she was getting really old, not able to completely care for herself, Laura moved to Nantucket into my mother's house and took care of her.
With marijuana or without? We don't know that.
I haven't asked. And that was an expression of her compassion.
Wow.
And Laura's birth mother, Susan, had a very severe stroke, I think it was, and was very incapacitated. But eventually she came to Nantucket, and Laura cared for her in the last part of her life.
Wow.
And so Laura has a comfort with death and a compassion.
We also did a trip to Baja. I remember driving down this washboard road in the middle of the night, listening to coyotes howl. And then we got to the beach, and it was New Year's Eve, and we could see fireworks. We had our sip of Bailey's. We took out our Starbucks and looked at the stars and slept on the beach. And were awakened the next morning by the local police, who told us we had to get off the beach. And I think maybe we got the car stuck on the beach, and I don't really remember.